Hello folks, trying to sort out a kind of an obscure collection here. This is just basically a few of my cards. A lot of them I'm not using at the moment. These boxes on the side I am. All these cards I'm using on the sides, all the ones in the center are not being used. I've collected a lot lately. I've been finding some decent deals. My favorite Terra scale cards, of course, I've got a huge collection of them in pre-Terra scale, you know, like the 2600 Pro. Oh, I had to have this. I got the ARC 380 for cheap, so went ahead and got it. And I also found this for $30. The original Intel i740 AGP card. So this is the original Intel card, and with a new first generation of their modern graphics cards. So I've collected that there. It's still in the box. I've not used it yet. 6970 I haven't used yet. I get the best card I'm using of the Terra scale is the 6950 in one of my XP builds, and that's what I'm going to use for a while. In fact, I've even got a spare 6950 under here, right here. I've got my Ruby collection. I got a 6950. I spent 2 hours cleaning that thing up, but yeah, it works. So, and this is my X16. I see 1850. Let's see, X1900 XT. It's got a little sag to it, but other than that, it's a nice card. It's loud. I tested it out. It's very loud. And then I got my X700 Pro AGP right here. I've got an X1300 Pro right here. Nothing super special, but good little Windows 2000 card. Nvidia wise, I've got a box GTS 250, which was the first, I guess I could say that was probably my first gaming card that I've ever owned. Kind of, in relevance to the years that I used it, I would say that's definitely better than this one. That was the one that I used back in 2004. Not this very one, but the exact model. This one, the box is not wrapped, but the box inside is completely wrapped. And that 5500 has never been opened. I know I bought it several years ago. Someone sold it for $25. Never used, so I went ahead and got that just to remind me of the very first graphics cards that I ever installed in a system. Back in 2004, or it was either 2004 or 2005, I had a Celeron D socket 478, and that's what I was running in it for several years. It was a card just like that. So yeah, definitely this 250 is a monster compared to that one. But yeah, I got, my GT, my mid-range GT collection, 6600 GT, 9600 GT. This is the one I was using for Windows 2000 testing originally, but I'm going with some Radeon cards to use as a tester now. So I just decided to put my 8600 GT here to just be with my collection. 7600 GT. This is my fake GeForce 3 Ti. It's actually a Quadro. It's the closest thing I could find that had that Ti shroud. That 3 Ti shroud. So I went ahead and got a Quadro 540, which is based off of FX, like the one, like that one. And only thing I need to do is find some heat sinks to go over those, and it would almost pass for a GeForce 3 Ti. I'm not going to spend $150 for one of them. I spent $30 for this one, just because I guess it's an FX AGP card. But yeah, that's an interesting part of my collection. Speaking of non-ATI Nvidia cards, I have this. Now this is actually made by ATI. It came out in 2004, but this is actually as you can see, a Matrox card. So yes, I have some Matrox in my collection. I have a little small AGP Matrox in the other room in a box. I still don't know what it is. I thought it was a M400 or G400. It's some really weak one from the late 90s. I also got a 128 Pro in my box in the other room. I like this one, even though it's just, you know, no thrills. This is a 2600 XT. I always like that shroud. That shroud is so cool. I love ATI cards, but their shrouds are just so cool, especially back in this era. And then of course I got the some of my collection down here is my Nvidia. I got an Nvidia 8800 GT right here. And then I got this is actually the very first exact model of the GTS 250 I used in my first custom built system 14 years ago. I had a card identical to this one. I ended up selling it, re-buying it. I bought it for a lot less than I sold my first one for. So, but this is the exact model. It's a 1 gig DDR3 GTS 250. I love the shroud on this one. I know they're fairly common, but this is a GTX 260. It works great. I tested it, and I just love the shroud. I know a lot of sought after cards slightly older than that one had that shroud. Like there's a Matrix, I think 8800 GTX that goes for a lot of money. And at the moment, this is my only SLI card. Two-in-one SLI card. This is my GTX 690. I've tested it. It does work, but it has some issues somewhat. Not the best results. It does work good enough to say, you know, to keep as a collection, but I wouldn't say it's the I've had better luck running two 970s separate in SLI. I ended up with better results, especially with the way you can actually control how the SLI works. And I also used to have two 1080s in SLI, and I remember I had better results than I had with this one when I tested it. Something about the two GPUs on one die, getting the SLI settings right is a headache. So, and then finally over here, this is my fake 7800 GTX. It's a Quadro, but it's based off of the 7800 GTX. But yeah, it's just a Quadro card. I think it's let me look. I've been looking up some Quadros, been buying a few of them lately. I don't remember what model this Quadro is, but it is. I did look it up. Whatever it is based off of the 7800 GTX. So it's just a lot cheaper getting this model. It looks just like it's got the same kind of shroud and everything. It's just got a Quadro, of course, on it. So anyway, that's just a brief video on my collection. Oh yeah, and I got a 660. This was one of the cards in one of my early Windows 7 systems. I upgraded to this one, and I was like, man, this was one of my most eye-popping upgrades after I started building my first PCs, going from like a GTS 250, GTS 450 to something like that. That was a major upgrade. So I went to the 60 class around 2011, 2012, and I just over time finally got up to the higher classes. Of course, I waited till they became used. Behind it, I have a unopened 560 Ti. That is the only 560 Ti I have. Is the box one right here. It's the PNY XR8. I think I spent a little too much for that one. I know it's boxed, brand new, never been used, but still. And then of course I got another 250 behind this one. The BFG GTS 250. Kind of the Batman's. And I have used that one. I have used it, but I've got it. It's complete. It's got everything, disc and everything, still in the box. So I kept up with that. So anyway, this is Matt signing off. Oh yeah, by the way, little nostalgic collection for me. I decided to collect a few things. This is actually a replica of the first CPU that I ever had in any of my systems. Let me open it up right here. It's a Willamette 1.7 gigahertz Pentium 4 socket 423. That was in my very first computer I ever had when I was 21. I was 21 years old when I got that computer. So yeah, I got to the computer race late in life. But as they say, better late than never. I also decided to get one of these. I found these, I think I found it for like 10 or 15 bucks. This is one of the first Pentiums. First generation ones. I haven't opened it yet, but I assume it's in decent shape. I mainly got it for collection. I don't have a board to even test it with. I do have a board to test that one, but I'm afraid to use that board because it's worth so much money now. I don't know. I've got a Pentium 4 similar to this in it right now, with the RAM bus and all that. And just to finish my Pentium collection, like my box Pentium collection, I decided to go with a 20th anniversary G3258. I got a good model. It's not brand new, but it's complete with the cooler, as is this one. I went with this Pentium Gold to finish my collection. It's not the last Pentium that ever came out, but it's, you know, it's near the last Pentium that will ever come out. There was a few that came out after. I think the new modern socket now has one final one that came out, but this is like next to the last generation of Pentiums that will ever come out. So just to have some of my Pentium collection out for showcase. I've got a socket A motherboard with this actual processor in it. Right now I got a little Sempron socket A holding its spot, and of course I ended up using the fan in that system. Well, actually it's not in a case right now. It's in a box. It's in its box with the CPU and memory attached to it. So, but yeah, that's just a little brief. This is just a very small amount of my collection, but this is just kind of like my showcase pieces of some of my collection. This is Matt signing off.